What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about and what's going on here in our country on a daily basis. Congress is now basically passing bills here almost on a daily basis. They're finally doing something, trying to get a lot done here before the end of the year and also before the new Congress comes in here in January. We'll go over that here in this video. Also, the stock market has been crashing here over the last few days after the Fed's announcement. We'll go over that here also as well. Thank you so much for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out our channel. And if you're new here, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on our new videos coming out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's jump right in. Yeah, so the Dow Jones stock index slides more than 400 points here today, bringing three-day losses to more than 1,300 points. Yeah, this is that we had seen a rally going up to the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision, and they raised interest rates here yet again by half a percentage point. But the problem here is that they basically said they're going to continue raising interest rates for most of 2023, which is not what a lot of people expected. A lot of people thought that they might stop interest rate hikes because we've already seen interest rates massively spiked here through all of 2022. We've seen home mortgages go from under 3%. A lot of people got 2.85, 2.875 interest rates on their mortgages locked in for 2022, 30-year mortgages even. And we're like, yeah, those were the best mortgages ever known to man. And now we're seeing mortgages at 7%. Some people even got mortgages higher than 7%, or now they just raised interest rates another 0.5%. Credit card interest rates averaging around 20%, and the highest credit cards around 35%. The highest ever. The highest ever. Car prices crashing, home prices crashing as well, as nobody wants to buy homes. And cars considerably more expensive as well because of the loans or the leases, much more expensive because of the interest rates, So the prices having to come down because they're just considerably more expensive because of the interest. Same thing with the home prices. The average home now about $1,000 more per month because of the interest rate at 7% instead of 3% or less. So this is really, really bad. Here is former U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, Larry Summers, with his thoughts. Take a listen.
Larry, thanks for being with us. You had warned, we know, early last year, you'd been warning about the fact that inflation, once it hits, is really hard to deal with. And they certainly have learned the lesson, and they're acknowledging that their forecasts were off. So now, if you want to forecast with the highest inflation rate in 15 years, how long will it take to bring it down? Do you think they can bring it down, let's say, by 2024 with these rate increases?
I think the market is expecting, and I think the market is probably right, that inflation will come down from its current levels. There's still a question whether it will stay down and how much we have to do to make sure that it stays down is, I think, still a question. And whether it can be brought down to stay down without a recession is a very large question. My guess is that the Fed will, in the end, have to suffer through a recession if we're going to bring inflation down. Perhaps that was inevitable. Probably that was inevitable, given all the stimulus that was provided to the economy in 2021, given that the Fed was late, and very importantly, given all the supply shocks that the economy suffered. But whereas I thought the Fed was very much in the wrong place a year ago, way behind the curve in terms of responding to inflation, I think in very difficult circumstances, they're in the range of having done the right things and pointing towards doing the right things. I think the chairman was right in the film clip he showed that no one can know what's going to happen going forward. My guess is that we'll have a recession, that it will not be an especially mild recession, but there's no reason to think it's going to be anything like what happened after COVID or what happened after the financial crisis or what happened when Paul Volcker had to slay inflation after a much longer period of high inflation at the end of the 1970s. Perhaps the unemployment rate will get in the range of 6%.
And well, Wall Street and a lot of people not very optimistic about the Fed's comment and Jerome Powell's comments about if they can get inflation back to 2%. Also, I want to mention here that a lot of people are wondering why the Fed is doing this. Just to clear this up here. And I'm not defending the Fed or anything. I'm not on their side. I'm not from the Fed. Um, just to be clear, my wife's laughing in the background. But raising interest rate is a kind of tried and true strategy that's been done for years, decades, and countries all around the world are raising interest rates. In fact, Canada and countries in Europe were raising interest rates this year before the US was, actually. So the US was actually criticized a little bit for not raising interest rates sooner.
And why is that the way, why is that the tried and true way to?
Okay, so I'll give you an example here. So for example, we had seen car prices and home prices selling for way higher than they should have this year. Okay, classic example, car prices were selling for over MSRP because of the chip shortage and just car mania. And home prices were selling for way over asking price. Home price would, for 300,000 would go for sale, and you would know this maybe you were in the home market. But the day they would go for sale, they'd get 5, 10, 15 different bidders, and that $300,000 home would sell sometimes the day of or a day or two later, and it would sell for $350,000. Okay. This was very, very common this year, and would sell for $50,000 over the asking price all across America. Okay, well, now that's not happening anymore because of raised interest rates. Okay, that has come back down to normal. In fact, now that $300,000 home, you could probably negotiate it down and get it for $290,000. You could actually negotiate the price a little bit. So things have come back down to normal. That's the normal way of things, okay? Normally, you would never go and bid over asking price for a $300,000 home, except for in maybe very select markets, very like overheated markets, like overcrowded markets. There's a very few markets in the U.S. that you would have to do that in, but that's not a normal thing, okay? So this has worked. This has worked in the price sense of things, okay? The home prices and car prices. So cars, we were seeing the same thing. Cars, we'll say a $40,000 car was selling for 45 or even 50 in some cases. And used cars that were like a year or two old, that $40,000 car would normally sell for like 30. They were selling for 40, even though they were a year or two old. Again, not normal, not normal. So all that's kind of corrected itself now. But the problem is the interest rates have made them more expensive because of the interest rates. Now, hopefully the interest rates are just a temporary scenario, but this has what they've done to try to correct the market. And honestly, it has worked because We're not seeing the $300,000 home sell for $350 anymore, which is a good thing. So if you go buy that $300,000 home for $290 now, you may pay higher interest rates for a few years, and then when interest rates come back down, you could refinance. So that would actually be good for those buyers. If you go to buy a car, a $40,000 car, and your payments are whatever, couple $300, $400, $500 a month, whatever they are, lease payment, whatever. At least you're not paying $50,000 for that $40,000 car, or $45,000, $44,000, whatever. So we are seeing that bring down prices. The problem is that higher interest rates can only affect so many things. For example, it can't affect food prices. It doesn't really affect gas prices, but gas prices are coming down, but that's kind of a different scenario. So this kind of gives you an idea that it does work, but it only works on certain things. It only works on certain things that are interest rate sensitive to interest rates. Another thing I want to say here is that Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, is not the guy who solely decides this. They have a whole panel, a whole board of directors, so to say, of people all around the country that get to vote on this. They get to vote on this. So I've seen a lot of comments saying, fire Jerome Powell, because this does affect your credit card interest rates too, because when they raise interest rates, credit card companies basically raise credit card interest rates as well, and any type of thing you borrow money on. So if you go to take a personal loan, those rates have been going up. Any type of money that you borrow money on, technically you're borrowing money when you borrow money when you have credit card debt. You're technically borrowing money there. So Jerome Powell is not the only person making this decision. It's not, one crazy guy out there. I get it. Some people might think he's crazy. Remember, he's a Republican. He was appointed by former President Donald Trump, but then President Biden decided to keep him in there. So whether or not you think he's doing a good job or not, but remember that they almost had to raise interest rates. They were basically at zero on the federal funds rate. They had to raise interest rates. Countries all around the world are doing this. Not that I'm defending them, but they had to raise it some. But now people think they're doing it. They're raising it too much. I personally think they need to stop. They've raised them. They've done a good job raising them. They need to stop a little bit now. It's becoming a little bit too much. Okay, but there's a whole board of directors that vote on this, and they've almost unanimously voted every time to raise them. And so it's not like just this one guy saying, "Hey, let's raise them, raise the roof." There's like a whole board of guys. So it's not just like if they fired Jerome Powell, they just put another guy in there. And again, it's the whole board of people voting on them. Okay, so the last time they voted to do a smaller rate hike, because remember they've been doing 0.75 these last several times, which was even more. Now they've kind of stepped it back to 0.5, but they're still raising interest rates. The problem with what they said last time is that they're going to probably continue raising interest rates to 2023 multiple times. But remember here that they often say things and they're wrong in the future. They've been notably wrong multiple times. And this is just because the economy shifts often. So what could happen here is in 2023, we could see a massive recession, which is what we're for lack of a better word, it's what it looks like we're heading for in a lot of different ways. And interest rates can only affect so many things, and they could just stop. They could just stop raising interest rates. You got to remember that these things affect the poor, lower, and middle class people a lot. And this is why it's a very bad time to have credit card debt. It's a very bad time to have credit card debt because it's just it's going up in hordes. And please take a look at, if you have credit card debt, what your interest rate is. If you have a statement from last year, go see what your statement from last year, what your interest rate was, because it's going to be going up, and it could be going up even more as the months go by. It's a very, very expensive time to have credit card debt. Yeah, keep that in mind. I've also seen a lot of people comment saying, yeah, I'd like to move to another home or sell my home or for this, that, and the other reason, but I kind of can't because I'm locked in, or I don't want to because I'm locked into this 3% rate, or I've seen somebody say I had a 2.8% mortgage, and I don't want to sell because this is like the greatest mortgage ever. And you're right, it is. Congratulations if you have anything below a 3% mortgage. It's like you've hit the lottery, because it really is. It's like the cheapest money you can ever borrow, especially if you get to write that off on your taxes if you itemize or anything like that. And hopefully we come back to see that here in a few years. It'll probably be a few years until we get somewhere even close to that. But yeah, you're right. If you went, even if you just moved down the street to another home that's at 7%, a similar home would just literally probably your mortgage payment would be double. So it financially and just it doesn't make any sense to sell that home and move to a home a city over, a block over, or anything like that, and pay double because of the interest rates. The interest rates are really, and this is why we're starting to see kind of a collapse of the home market. The inventory out there is really starting to come down, as if the inventory wasn't low before, but for a different reason. The reason before is that the buyers were snapping them up the day they were for sale. If you weren't a quick buyer, you just have to bid a crazy price and just hope you got it to outbid everybody. Now it's different because nobody wants to sell their home, because if they had to sell their home, then they have to buy another home at these crazy interest rates. Yeah, so how the markets have turned in every aspect, Yes, I just it's been absolute 2022. I remember saying this for 2021, saying that 2021 was just as crazy as 2020 because of the pandemic, and I remember saying how crazy 2021 was. Well, 2022 has actually been just as crazy as 2021. Unbelievable. My question is will we be sitting here at 2023 and saying 2023 is just as crazy as 2022? Yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But yeah, 2022, the year of crazy high interest rates and inflation. Wow. And I mean, really a lot more, but that's just the first thing that comes to mind here. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. I'll have a trivia question for you guys here in the next video where you can win cash directly from me. And yeah, so make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here on a daily basis at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Click the bell icon after you subscribe. And thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos. You can click here to watch my newest video next. Or here is my newest video about checks going out to millions of Americans. So click on one of those videos next, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.